Have you ever noticed how our brains have this weird way of convincing us that we're one thing away from happiness and that that thing, whatever it is, that once you achieve it, your life would finally fall into place? Well, I learned this the hard way when I was 8 years old, standing in front of a music shop. And I was completely transfixed by this black and sleek electric violin. And to me, it gleamed under the lights like it had the power to solve all my life problems. And I was convinced that this violin would make me go from a child struggling to play variations of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star to a musical prodigy like Mozart, but obviously with better hair. I was, and so I did what every determined kid does. I begged my parents for weeks, explaining how I needed that new violin. And instead of practicing the notes that I was struggling with, I told myself that once I got a better, shinier, and cooler violin, I would automatically improve, like overnight success. Well, my parents caved in and I finally got the violin, but nothing changed. My fingers didn't magically know where to go, and my bow didn't stop sounding like a screeching cat. Well, turns out the problem wasn't the violin, it was me. Who knew? Well, I guess shiny didn't equal skill, and that was my first brush with the idea that sometimes the stories we tell ourselves aren't just wrong, they're completely upside down. But at 8 years old, I wasn't ready for that kind of self reflection. Instead, I was busy believing in the lie that something external could fix me. Now, who here has been in a race before? So I'm assuming you all look out for the finish line when you're racing. Now I want you to imagine a race, not those fun sprints where everyone cheers you on, but those long, grueling marathons that just never seems to end. And every mile you run, you see this banner that says, happiness, 100 meters ahead. And so you run that 100 meters and you eventually reach that milestone. But then what? The banner has moved again, and now you're stuck running another lap. Now I want to refer back to my violin story. In my case, my banner is my electric shiny violin, and that is 8-year-old me running towards it. But once I get there, there is a bigger picture of still not being able to play that violin, and now the banner has moved again, and now I'm stuck running another laps. If you think about it, this is how most of us live our life. We chase one thing after another. If only I had the perfect grades. If only I land this dream job. Or if only I nail this performance, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be complete. And it's this race that we're all in. But this endless race isn't just a metaphor, there's actual science behind it. Psychologists gave it a fancy name and calls it the hedonic treadmill. And it's not the machines that you see in a gym, but it's basically the idea that no matter what you achieve or acquire, your happiness level will always return back to the same baseline. Think about it. Have you ever achieved something that you've wanted for so long, and when you get there, you are over the moon for a hot minute, maybe even 24 hours. But then what? Your brain starts searching for the next thing to chase. That is the hedonic treadmill. You run and run, but emotionally, you're in the same spot. Psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Emma Tversky actually researched this phenomenon. Sorry if I butchered their name, but they found out that even after major life experiences like winning the lottery or facing tragedy, they don't have much of an impact on your happiness level as much as you think. When someone wins the lottery, they're over the moon. Their happiness level spikes up, but it eventually returns back to normal. It's like going from, oh my gosh, I'm rich, to taxes are hard. And similarly, when someone faces a setback, their happiness level hits rock bottom. They are depressed. But eventually, it returns back to normal after some coping. The similarities you can see in both of these graphs is that the happiness level always returns back to the same baseline, the same position where it started. Why does this happen? It's because humans adapt. We humans are incredibly resilient, and that is both a blessing and a curse. We adapt to both positive and negative changes, which is why even after achieving something so major, we start searching for the next thing to chase. So, why do we even believe in the lie that we're one step away from the life that we've always dreamed of to begin with? Well, it's because we are creative storytellers and masters at lying to ourselves. And we combine these two superpowers and we create these little narratives about how we're just a few steps away from the life that we've always dreamed of. I'm telling this because I'm also guilty of this. I've told myself that if I had more time to sleep, I would have obviously been a morning person, but I refuse to wake up before 9 a.m. unless I absolutely have to, and my mom makes sure that I absolutely have to. Or for parents here, you might have once thought, oh, if only my kid had better grades, I would have been more happy. Because clearly an extra letter on that report card is their lifelong key to happiness. And as I'm standing here delivering the speech, a part of me feels like I've accomplished. Well, I've crafted this speech, I'm delivering it, hoping I'm doing a decent job, and by the time that I'm done with this, I'll finally be able to take a deep breath and relax. But what's really going to happen? The moment I get off the stage, I'm going to start, well, I'll take a moment to bask in the applause, and then I'll start stressing about the exams, or the new projects, or whatever challenge life throws at me next. And whenever I think that I've made it, my brain automatically moves that banner forward and pushes me to chase the next challenge. And you know who else fell for this trap? Ariel, the Little Mermaid. She had the ultimate case of, oh, if only I had this, my life would be perfect syndrome. And in her mind, having legs, land, and love was the key to her lifelong happiness, which is why she accepted the deal with Ursula. And she traded her voice, the literal thing that made her who she was, in return for some human legs. That probably sounds ridiculous to most of us because we probably have never thought of doing that. But if you think about it, Ariel represents most of us. We think that the thing we want is worth any price. We're willing to trade our time, our effort, and our energy for something that might not even be worth it. And Ariel and Ursula, she's like life's temptation, dangling something shiny in front of us, knowing that we trade something even more valuable in a heartbeat. And the shiny thing, like Ariel's prince, probably doesn't even notice us back. And it's not just about how we deal with happiness. We pull the same tricks with failure. Bad day? Obviously, it's the weather's fault. Bad grade? Well, the teacher clearly hates you. Late? Must have been the traffic. We're so quick to point fingers at anything but ourselves, and here's the thing. Sometimes it is us. And sometimes it's not the external things like the people around us that's creating problems for us. And sometimes it's our mindset. It's what we expect and the reactions that we want to give that's making us mark this day as bad. Now I want to circle back to my violin story. I eventually realized that getting a shinier and newer violin wasn't going to make me great. And what made me great were the hours of practice, the frustration, and the sacrifice of all my Saturday mornings to practice for my violin recitals. And I became a person who mastered the violin, not because of a magical instrument, but because I learned to love the process. I learned to love the boring and grueling part of learning a new skill. And that's the thing. You can't just rewrite the ending, you have to rewrite the story. We're not runners on a race. We are authors with a pen, and the story of our happiness isn't at the end of the chapter. It's being written as with every step we're taking. And when I perform on stage now, my real joy doesn't come from the applause I get. It comes from realizing that all the efforts that I've spent were all worth it in the end. That's the real reward, not some elusive finish line. And that applies to all of us. Happiness, fulfillment, success, they're not things that we achieve once and hold on to forever. They're things that we cultivate over time, like growing a garden. Obviously, you can't place a seedling and expect it to immediately grow into a beautiful tree. You have to water it, have a lot of patience, and probably pull out a lot of weed. It's about owning your journey, having responsibility. So we've come full circle, and you might be thinking that was a lot to take in, or a lot of pictures to take in. And if you're wondering, is this it? Is happiness always going to be 100 meters away? I understand, because that's what I initially thought after discovering about the treadmill. Every time we move the finish line forward, we're telling ourselves that where we are right now isn't enough. And if it's always not enough, when will we ever be happy? When will we ever be complete? Happiness isn't always 100 meters away. It isn't in the banners, it isn't at the finish line. It's with every step you're taking. So here's to embracing the messiness of it all, finding joy in the thrill of the chase, knowing that happiness can be found in those short, everyday achievements as it is in those big goals. So here's my last question to you. If happiness isn't waiting at the finish line, are you still willing to run that race? Thank you.